Growing up in Zimbabwe, Bongani lived with his mother and father in a village where they survived on money his father made while working as a miner. My dad was often not around because of his job. I wish I could have seen him more. I didn't mind because I loved my mother and she was very caring. I can relate to this in such like my dad, like my mom got a job in Johannesburg and we had to move away, and my dad was a policeman and they wouldn't give him his job. Those were like, I remember crying like, no daddy, don't go.
I also had an older brother. We shared a mother but have different fathers. He would live between our house and my grandmother's in a neighboring village.
I would hear stories about his bad behavior. He would steal money for his trips when he ran away from home. I remember having fun with him when he was around. Bongani says that he felt the absence of his father and brother even more when his mother got sick.
I was about 6 when I noticed that my mom wasn't feeling well. She would sleep often, which is not like her, because she was fit and strong. She would try to do things, but got tired quickly and needed to lie down. There were many times when I tried to help her, but I never knew what to do.
I remember cooking for her once. I made spinach and pap, 2 of the things we loved eating. I hoped that it would make her feel better.
I had learned how to cook by watching her over the years. I did the same. I remember when I was little, when my mom used to, I have a memory of when we used to still live in Ladysmith in KwaZulu-Natal. She would bake like cakes and I would sit there sticking my hand in the batter and she'd always shout at me. Kind of miss those moments.
She would take wood outside, make a fire, and then cook the food in a pot. I remember dishing for her the first, then walking to the tap and filled a bucket of water where she could wash her hands. Then I dished for myself. While sitting on the floor next to the bed, I watched her eat. She was thin, and I remember her wrists being small like mine. She finished before me, and I was proud because she had really enjoyed it.
As his mother's condition worsened, she told Bongani that one of his cousins would be staying with them. She told me my cousin was coming to look after me and that she was going to the hospital. I felt sad because I was going to miss her, but I thought it was for the best so she could get better. My cousin was in her teens and was loving and understanding. I think my mom might have had a feeling that she didn't have long to live and wanted someone young to care for me.
When I told her I missed my mom, she would always say, "Big boy, it's going to be alright." My father came back from the mine and I overheard him talking to my cousin, saying that my mom passed away at my grandmother's when she returned from the hospital. I thought I might have misunderstood because they didn't speak directly to me.
A few days later, a guy who lived in the village told me that he was sorry to hear my mom had passed away. I felt angry that this guy knew about her death, but my father couldn't even tell me. I decided to keep quiet. A few weeks later, Bongani moved to live with his grandmother, where he got more information about his mother's death.
I had twin cousins, 8, who were living with my grandmother. They told me that they were sorry my mom passed away and showed me where she was buried. The burial site is close to my grandmother's house. They told me that my mother and their mother were buried next to each other. That kind of touches home. My mom, I feel like my mom knew she was gonna die because she'd always tell my dad, because it's like a bit of like religious differences. My dad is Hindu, my mom was Catholic. And my mom always told my dad, "I don't want to be cremated. If you cremate me, I'm gonna haunt you." And she's buried next to her parents.
I wish my brother was around. I thought that because we were going through the same loss, he would support me like big brothers are supposed to. Bongani stayed with his grandmother for 1.5 years, attending school and growing closer to his cousins until his brother came around and changed the trajectory of his life. I came home from school and was happy to see my brother. While he was there, we grew closer and it felt good to have my big brother with me. One evening, he mentioned his adventures in the city. He told me I must join him and that in the city have the biggest, fastest, coolest cars, and I could drive these cars. Life would be better, he said, because we'd have no housework or chores. So I thought, okay, I'll see what the city was like, and then come back. I was only 8.
My brother stole money from my gran. We walked for about 40 minutes to the town of Kwanda. When we got there, we took a taxi to the next town, where we spent the night on the street. I felt scared but excited, because we were on an adventure, and I knew my big brother would keep me safe.
Bongani and his brother arrived in Messina and lived on the streets for a few months. Life was not easy or safe. Once we were looking for cardboard to sleep under when a guy who had lost his bottle thought that we had taken it and chased us with his belt. I wasn't as fast as my brother, so I fell and he beat me.
We had to get our own food. We had no place to stay, and the cars that I thought we would ride in never came around. I began to see my brother differently because he had lied to me. I missed being with my granny, and I was so upset but too scared to argue with him.
While on the streets, they made a friend. He was younger than my brother, but he knew more about life on the streets. He told us that Cape Town was the place to be. At that time, we were being chased by police every day, so we needed to go somewhere else.
Before long, the group found their way to Khayelitsha in Cape Town, where their friend knew someone who could help them. We stayed with the guy for a while, but he began to take our money and also lie to people about us. We knew we needed to leave. A neighbor told us about the shelter for children, so we decided to go there because we were tired of being on the streets and begging.
A friend of the shelter, Adele, offered to take us in. Living there was good. We had DSTV, a CD player, and a comfortable bed. Things we weren't used to. I couldn't speak English yet, so she hired teachers to come to the house to help us speak, read, and write English.
Soon they decided we could go to school. Adele helped us get in touch with my auntie who lived in Johannesburg. She was happy that we are in a good, safe space and sent me my birth certificate so I could legally stay in South Africa.
Bongani felt his life was returning to normal, but then his brother began speaking to him about a plan to leave again because he couldn't stand the rules. My brother spoke to me about having one last adventure on the streets before we started school. He said he was going to take some money from Adele. I was stupid and believed him when he said that he needed me to come with him. We were gone for 2 days. I told him that we had a good life and should go back. He agreed, and so we returned and apologized, and Adele gave us a second chance. My brother was still unable to cope. 2 days later, when a teacher came to the house, he stole his bicycle and told me we should run. I said no. I've never seen him again.
Due to his brother's actions, Bongani and his friends were moved to a different children's home. Life was not easy. I became angry because of the decisions I'd made. I came to realize that I could not turn back time and that I could not change what I did from now. I have lived in 4 different shelters and I have adapted to my situation.
I always wanted to be with my brother because I wanted to have a close relationship with him. My longing for his love and acceptance caused me to lose a lot. I think about him often and hope his life is good. I can't change him. I've made my peace with the way he is. I think that many of us think we can change people, and while that we lose ourselves. When we let go of those people, we give ourselves the opportunity to live better lives.
Wow. That story resonates with me on so many levels, because it's not really about the actual story. It's about him being able to sort of accept who he is and accept that the people need to change themselves. It shouldn't be, change isn't a negative thing and usually has this sort of negative connotation to it. But change is something good, and we shouldn't force it on someone else. We should allow them to adapt and change in a manner that they would like to. Because if we force someone to change, we're changing them for our desires, and that's selfish. and we're not accepting what they are, so we're not accepting what we are. So acceptance resonates with me a lot in the story, and I can relate to that like 100%.
I think more like it's in a way my life, but in a different form. I left, like I said, like there was things at home was hard, so I left, trying to better things for myself. So I think one of the lessons I learned from that and from this was that no matter what, put yourself first. We need to stop and think that, is worrying about another person, family or not, is it worth it to you? Is it going to help better your future? Is it going to help better who you are? I tell my sister that all the time, that she needs to focus on herself. Her schoolwork should always be first, no matter what. So the lesson would be is put yourself first. It's okay to be selfish with yourself.
That's pretty true. My brother killed his girlfriend and 10 days later committed suicide. And it's, if maybe we'd seen the signs and, we had the possibility to change him. So I kind of resonate with that, because you kind of just wonder if you just chose differently, if it would have had a different outcome. But Bongani's story is very inspiring, because he decided to choose himself first and to make a difference with his life. So it's very inspiring.